Hello there, it's Suzy Walker from Psychology's magazine for our Monday morning motivator. We believe at Psychology's motivation begins with the inner work. So today we are talking about coaching questions that will refocus you, that will help you change the way you look at the world. I want to ask the question this morning. Our Monday morning question this morning is, how can you create a new morning routine that will focus and energize you? Okay, so how can you create a new morning routine that will focus and energize you? So at Psychologies, we always believe that working on your life rather than completely being bombarded and reacting to life is the way forward. For me, creating morning routines is a way of absolutely setting yourself up to every day. It's like a reset button. I don't know about you, but sometimes I get a little bit carried off path emotionally, hormonally, physically. I get tired, all of these things. But every morning is an opportunity just to press the button and to reset. So everybody is different. There is not one way to do it, but there are millions and millions, from Psychology's magazines, there's millions and millions of techniques. I'm a great believer in this, that, etc. But for you, you've got to find a morning routine that will absolutely make you feel fired up, excited, refocused, like ready to go. So what does yours look like? So what I would suggest this week is maybe try an experiment with different routines every day, different times of the day, see how that fits for you. Because what we want to do is make this a very sustainable routine. I think what often happens is we set ourselves ridiculous, unrealistic deadlines. I'm going to get up at 4:30. I'm going to exercise for an hour and a half. I'm going to meditate for 3 hours. And because we just set our goals in a way that are unrealistic, we never hit them. And then we think, oh, yeah, it's not possible for me to change. So it's about starting small and creating a routine that could really, that could be sustainable long term. I think that is. I mean, if you're human, that will really help. I know that for a lot of people, they talk about exercise first thing in the morning, but I've tried to exercise for years in the morning and it's never worked for me. I just can't do it. So for me, it's very much about setting up my headspace and my emotions in the morning. So for me, it starts with meditation. So, I mean, there are millions of different types of meditation. There's a great app called Insight Timer. It's got thousands and thousands of brilliant new meditations for you to do, guided, so you don't have to do any work. You plug in, listen to a meditation. I use something called Transcendental Meditation, which I learned about 20 years ago. It's 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night. Again, I don't always manage to do 20 minutes. I do 10 minutes. But for me, it's to start almost the day with a sense of humor about how fast my brain goes all over the place, thinking about this, worrying about this, and then constantly training my brain to come back to center, to my breath, to my in Transcendental Meditation. It's about a mantra, so bringing myself back there. Then I do something, journaling. We were interviewing the amazing Julia Cameron the other day, who wrote the amazing book, The Artist's Way. And that has a tool in it called Morning Pages, where you write 3 pages of stream of consciousness writing, where you just dump all your negative. So I sort of meditate, then do stream of consciousness, like just vomit on the page all my words, and then usually after 3 pages get to like, okay, I see, I let it all out. I let all my anxiety out, all of my angst out, all of my hopes out, all of it onto the page in the first, and then I start to see a pattern over time, especially, and it helps me become more self-aware of what I may be triggered by. It doesn't always work, but anyway, it's a good tool to use. The other thing that I've just started doing is, I don't know if you heard of Wim Hof, he's called the ice guy. He's been swimming under the water in like really cold ice, but he's got this breathing technique, and there's a free app that you can download. So I've been trying to do a technique using breathing. So anyway, just have a look at Wim Hof. We're actually going to interview him, and I'm going to be writing an article about it for the autumn, about how the Wim Hof techniques may or may not change my life. I don't know, but it makes me feel more alive. So I think with exercise, it makes you feel fantastic. But for me, this new breathing technique allows me to stay in bed, do it rather than get out and fail exercise. So I've been doing my exercise at the end of the day. I've been doing a lot of walking recently. I've recently moved to my canal boat in London, and so I've been walking, around the parks, and doing about an hour a day of walking. So at the end of the day, that helps me calm my day and finish my work day, which has been really helping. But for me, I know people like to do exercise in the morning, but for me, I've been trying to experiment with something new called with a Wim Hof, and then he also recommends a cold shower. Actually, it's not as bad as it sounds, because I'm only trying it for 15 seconds, and again, the health benefits for it are absolutely amazing. So I'm trying it, I'm experimenting. It's only for 15 seconds, but it's really, really good fun. The other thing that I do is normally, if I'm struggling with something, or I'm feeling particularly low, or I normally read inspirational matters. So as everyone knows who reads Psychology's magazine, we have the wonderful Pema Chodron as our back page muse, who's a Buddhist nun, one of the wisest people in the planet. I really, really adore her writing. So I have about 4 of her books by my bedside, or in my cabin, in my canal boat, and I often will just read a chapter or maybe just a paragraph of her writing, which kind of reminds me about what life is really all about, that there are no answers out there, that it's all in here, that there is no certainty, and the only certainty I have is that there is no certainty. So getting in touch with that kind of really deep wisdom on a daily basis, it sort of feels like it permeates into me. And so when I get triggered by trying to control something, or wanting a certain outcome that I can't control, especially throughout the recent pandemic, when you feel so out of control, reading matter like that has really helped me and really supported me. So I suppose what I'm asking you to do this week is to create an experiment with some new ways of supporting yourselves, with a great morning routine that makes you feel alive, inspired, motivated. One thing I would say be a little bit careful about is try not to create a really punishing routine. I think a lot of us think that, self-help and self-care is all about punishing and motivation and, really gritting your teeth and getting on. But I know that I've just recently looked at my own self-care, and then thought about myself, about how to create a more nourishing and caring routine that supports me and nurtures me, rather than kind of whips me with a whip. I think I come from a background of very kind of hardcore wanting to motivate myself, and I think some work I need to do on myself is to make that a little bit softer and much more nurturing, much more self-compassionate. In our next magazine, we've got a whole piece about self-compassion, so I've been reading a lot about that recently. Kristen Neff, about how we can be more compassionate to ourselves. And my fear is, if I'm softer with myself and more caring with myself, that I won't get anything done. So this new morning routine that's very nurturing, very nourishing, is really helping me. So have an experiment this week about how can you create a new morning routine that focus, energizes, and maybe we can of love. Bye bye.